Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. You see the thumbnail. We got some updates today for the New York Giants. League meetings still happening. The NFC coaches had their pressers today, and Brian Daboll had a lot to say. It was some great questions asked to Brian Daboll and some good answers provided as well. But one thing before we get into that, make the Giants great again. The hat is still in stores. Go ahead and get yourself one. Also, if you are a New York Giants fan and you are not subscribed to this channel, shame on you. Shame on you, but guess what? You get to fix that by hitting that subscribe button right now. Go ahead and hit that like button as well. Also, in Giants content creator news, got some big news today about Talking Giants. Split between the two hosts. Bobby Skinner now going on his own. Justin Pinnock will remain with Talking Giants under John Boy Media. Everybody support Bobby Skinner with his new move to his new channel. I believe it's called Giants Nation Now. I believe that's what it's called. You guys are smart enough. You can find the channel. Go ahead and make sure you subscribe. It's all about love and support, building this community up the right way. Content creators, looking out for content creators. And again, go support both of these guys still. So without further ado, let's get into some of these Giant updates. And I do have the handy dandy notebook here. It's been a while since I brought out the handy dandy notebook. You see all the notes. I was watching the presser, taking down some notes of some things I felt were interesting that these guys talked about, or that Brian Daboll talked about. And the first thing that I didn't realize was, yes, this team is different. Yes, this roster has some turnover, but I didn't realize how much. Brian Daboll said about 40% of the roster is different from last year. 40% of the roster. But guess what? If you want things to change, you have to change things up. And I guess 40% of the roster being different is a good thing. Next, he also talked about team meetings and positional meetings that have not happened yet. April 21st is a date when they start having these meetings again. So you're going to start getting guys in the building, players in the building to have these team meetings and these positional meetings. So that's going to kick off that Monday before the draft. Also, he was asked about the play calling. Brian Daboll, being like Brian Daboll, same thing happened last year. They didn't want to spill the beans on who was calling the plays, even though we already knew who was going to be calling the plays last year. We knew it. It wasn't a surprise when he ended up calling the plays, but this year, a little bit different. After what happened last year and the push for Brian Daboll to be more of a head coach still and not just an offensive focused head coach, I can see him giving up the play calling back to Mike Kafka, but we'll see what happens. We'll get a better idea of what happens, once we get into like mini camp and OTAs and the training camp and stuff like that. But usually you can tell. By the time we get to preseason, you're going to know who's calling the plays or not, because last year, Brian Daboll's calling plays in the preseason. It wasn't a secret. Well, it wasn't a well-kept secret, and we kind of figured out what was going on. He also talked about looking forward to the private workouts. We found out yesterday from Joe Shane that Brian Daboll does not go to pro days. Well, he didn't go to pro days this year. And for me, that's a little bit surprising, but his explanation for that is, during the private workouts, you get one-on-one time with the prospect. And it's valuable one-on-one time, and even more valuable than just going to pro days and watching the guy work. You can actually, install things, see how the guy reacts to the plays, give him certain criteria that you want him to follow and learn, and then hopefully he can do those during those private workouts. But I understand why he does that. Next, he talked about, and this goes to what I'm going to be talking about a little bit later when it comes to Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. He talked about having fast receivers on the outside, but he also talked about having an athletic tight end that can attack the seam. So Brian Daboll is still on it when it comes to pushing the ball downfield. He wants to be an attacking offense, and why not when you have speed on the outside, and also I would say a diamond in the rough when it comes to the tight end position. And I'm assuming he's referring to Theo Johnson. But again, you have a physical tight end that can attack the seams, opening up things on the outside for the wide receivers, something that I've been wanting to see since we got Darren Waller for the most part. But yeah, so that's going to be those updates with that. So I'm going to talk about some of the defensive additions that he did talk about. He was asked about Paulson and Daboll. And basically, when he talked about Paulson and Daboll, he was talking about how versatile he is at a corner. He could play in both systems, whether it's zone or man. strong suit. I believe it as well. I believe he's stronger man corner than he is his own corner, but we'll see what happens in this system with Shane Bowen. But he said, a type of cornerback that can get his hands on balls and call turnovers. The New York Giants need interceptions. We needed a lot of interceptions last year. Last year it was awful when it came to the interceptions. This year, hopefully, the addition of Paulson and Daboll changes that. He also talked about Javon Holland. Pretty much said he's been high on Holland ever since college. Very talented player and also a great leader. Happy to have him as a part of the New York Giants. Another thing they talked about is Evan Neal moving the guard. Joe Schoen said, Evan Neal was open to moving the guard. Pretty much Brian Daboll repeated those same details, saying that he wants to talk to Evan Neal once they have those meetings and see where his head is at with the possible move. To me, he's already agreed to the move. If you're making these kind of comments right now saying that he's open to moving the guard, that means you already had this discussion. If you know that he's open to moving the guard, that means you've had a discussion with him about moving the guard. There's nothing else to be said about this. He was asked about JMS and how he felt about JMS, and if bringing back Greg Van Roten is to push JMS at the center spot. That's something that other people have been talking about. For me, you guys know how I feel about JMS. This is a prove-it year, do-or-die year for JMS. It's sink or swim for JMS for me. And yes, I know we brought back Van Roten as a guard option, but he also played pretty well when he did at center. And then, you know what? Why not? Why not make it a competition at center too? But Brian Daboll said he is pleased with the progress that JMS is making, and hopefully he can continue to grow. Is that it for that? That is it for that. So let's talk about these quarterbacks finally. Let's talk about what Brian Daboll said about Russell Wilson and also Jameis Winston. So first things first, he had no prior relationship with Russell Wilson. Said he's a very productive quarterback, and he also said that he's watched every game of Russell Wilson, every snap of Russell Wilson since 2012. Now, that's a lot of film to be watching. That's a lot of film to be crunching in a couple of months. Talking about thousands of snaps. Did he really do every game or every snap since 2012? Probably not, but guess what? He probably saw games from each season. There's no way he looked at, you're talking thousands and thousands of snaps in such a short amount of time. I don't know if that's possible or not. But he also said heavy emphasis on throwing the ball deep when he's talking about Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. He's talking about explosive plays, and he's also talking about scoring points. He absolutely wants to score some points. When it came, and he did also confirm that Russell Wilson will be with the first team in the spring. That's something that Joe Schoen told everybody yesterday. Brian Daboll, repeated those same details. Now, when it comes to Jameis Winston, he said he's excited to work with him as well. He said watched a lot of tape on Winston as well. So basically, he was talking about watching tape, digging deep within the tapes for Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Obviously, you want to be able to do that. But yeah, he's happy. He's happy to have these guys in the room. Said these guys have a lot of experience. They both bring different things to the table. He loves their personalities. He doesn't want these guys to change their personalities at all. It's, he said he in the meetings that he did have with them, again, no prior relationship with these guys. In the meetings that he did have with both of these guys, he felt like the energy was good. So I'm happy about that. Next, we're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders. He was asked a question about Shedeur Sanders. But guess what? He refused to talk about any of the draft prospects in details. Any of them. They asked him about Abdul Carter. He didn't want to get into details about Abdul Carter. Shedeur Sanders didn't want to get into detail about him or Travis Hunter. So he's keeping everything close, and I'm happy about that. Because yes, us Giants fans, we can assume a lot of things are happening, but we don't know for sure what's going to happen. But for me, it's Shedeur Sanders a bust. There's no surprise for anybody out there. It's Shedeur Sanders. It's Shedeur Sanders or bust. You guys know me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then also he talked about, and I thought this was funny that he added this to evaluating a quarterback prospect. He said last year he was able to meet with quarterback prospects. And he was like, you get into the draft, you find guys that you like, and then, they end up getting picked before you get a chance to, to get to them. And one of the names he dropped was Michael Penix. So remember last year, I was on this channel raving about Michael Penix. A lot of people kept telling me you can get Michael Penix in the second round. You can get any quarterback, and you can get Bo Nix in the second round. JJ's not going in the first round, and all these guys went. And I thought it was kind of telling that he mentioned that, you know, we went ahead and got, you know, our guy, thinking that we can get somebody later, and he ends up going pretty fast, and you're shocked about it. But again, you get the quarterback when you can, and don't get left holding the bag. Don't get left holding the bag at all. And then lastly, let's see. He did emphasize on the defense, on defense when it came to defense and the improvement that the defense needs to make. He talked about the run defense. Got to improve the run defense, and I'm 100% with that. You guys already know. I said with the second round, get me the best defensive tackle left. The best defensive tackle left in the second round. I need to get Dexter a dance partner. I'm saying it. You're hearing the coach talking about the run defense needs to improve, and that it's a team thing, not just individual players. It's a team thing when it comes to the run defense, and I couldn't agree more. Defensive line got to do their job. Linebackers have to do their job, and then obviously your secondary is the safety valve. Your safeties are the safety valve. It is what it is after that. But that's going to be the update that I have for you guys today. Again, a lot of information. I believe Giants.com had already put the video up on YouTube. It's like 30-something minutes long. Go ahead and check it out for yourself. Let me know what you guys think about what Brian Daboll had to say in his presser. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.